Hello, welcome back to Ruby and Spire. Sorry it's been a while. A lot's been going on, a lot of big changes in my life, so I haven't been able to update any of the story. So sorry for the very, very long wait for my readers. Well, listeners, let's get to it then. This is chapter 55. Tread, deactivate the shields. Arena nodded and dashed to the bay. Keith clenched his jaw, gripping Lance's jacket tight around himself. His eyes stayed glued to the screen, heart racing. Ship launching from prison quarters 3. Prepare tracking launch. Karan's fingers flew across the panel. Matthew stood beside Shiro's seat, gripping his shoulder. Alora stood tensed on her panel. Arena is the launch and on her way to rescue Corvon, she stated aloud. Not even the mice on her shoulders any source of comfort. The ship is preparing for hyperdrive, Karan shouted, shipping the screens popping up over his dashboard. Launch the tracking drone, Alora commanded, and Karan immediately obeyed. All intently watched the screen, page side in relief. The green confirmation activation propped up just before the battle cruiser vanished into hyperspeed. Keith clung up, watching the screen. He hugged his knees to his chest. Is Lance really on that ship? Alora nodded. He has to be. Tread has no other reason to put the shield down. Arena, you have 137 ticks left. Copy that, princess. Shiro stared, waiting for the ship to stop. It's slowing down, Karan muttered, brow furrowed. Hyperspeed was cancelled, and they now travelling at normal speeds. Then we should go! The wormhole them! Keith shouted, sitting upright. Alora shook her head, her eyes on the screen. We have to wait for Arenas. They also haven't landed yet. What if there's a fleet there waiting for us? We can't fight a whole fleet in our condition. Our current condition, Keith snapped. Shiro tilted his head to look back up at the red paladin. I know you're impatient. I know you want him back here as soon as possible. We all do. But we need to be patient. Lance is strong. He held on this long. He can hold on just a few more ticks. The moment Alina and Corvon are on board, we're going after to find Lance. Keith clenched his jaw, kept his lip from trembling, his eyes stinging. He nodded. All of them looked up as Alina's voice came over the speakers. I have got Corvon with me now. We are on our way back to the castle. Keith jumped as his flannel flashed, then waited as he heard Pike cry. Mummy, Mummy, Pike sobbed. Honk leaned over. I'll go get him before he wakes Roz. Keith shook his head and stood. No, I'll get him. Tell me once we're on our way. Alora nodded firmly at him, assuring him meeting his gaze. Somewhere, Lance bellowed, charging against the beast. The beast roared. Swinging his mace, Lance sighed to the other side, ducking under the beast's blades. He swung around, grabbing onto the chains, dragging over the beast's shoulders. He yanked and pulled, clutching his jaw, as the beast shrieked, thrashing and grabbing for his neck. Lance dug his knees into the dirt, gripping the chains tighter. The beast fell into the ground, struggling. Lance moved over, throwing the chains to wrap once more around its neck, and yanked back again. The beast jerked and gargled. Eyes rolled back as it began to go limp. Lance released the chain once it was completely still. Rosalind cried from the cage, and Lance ran. "Daddy!" she wailed, reaching through the bars. "Rosaline!" he gasped, dashing to her as her cage was carried away. He screamed and thrashed as his arms were grabbed, holding him. "No! No! Ros! Ros! I'll get you out!" he shouted as she was taken through the exit. "Rosaline! Daddy!" Lance kicked and yanked, screaming at the guards as he was dragged back through. The blue paladin. "Everyone!" Lotor shouted. Cheers roared through the stadium. "My personal new favourite, gladiator." Keith sat in his seat again, holding Pike, Rosalind both in his lap. Berry wrapped over his shoulders, while Pike played with her tail. Rosaline kept her eyes on the screen like the rest of them. Pike buried himself with Berry and his blanket. Pidge typed on her laptop and her panel, her eyes flicking back and forth. "I'm in." So the ship did drop off Lance and a few other guards, then left to throw us off, just in case we were following. Smartness forgot. "I'm on this side, no theirs," she grumbled. Keith chewed anxiously on his lip, squeezing the two in his arms. "Oh my God!" Pidge erupted cried, jerking back in her seat. Everyone snapped their heads back to look at the green paladin. "What?" Hunk gasped, hurrying to his feet and scrambling over. The others rushed over as she played a video. The screen zoomed in on Lance yanking a beast to the ground. Keith, sobbing, covered his mouth, tucking Pike's head into his shoulder. Matthew gently turned to Rosalind away. The blue paladin was almost unrecognisable. His hair was shaggy and unkempt, skin darker with dirt. His eyes were wide and wild, panickingly almost. Lance's arms were thick with muscles, chest bigger, a shaggy, dirty beard grew on his face. Lance yanked hard on the chains, pulling until the beast finally went still. He looks like he's about to collapse, or even going to be a corpse. I don't know, Pidge muttered, zooming in on a little bob near the wall that Lance had just turned to. Oh, that's Roz. He thinks they have Roz. Me? Rosaline tried to peer around Matthew. Pidge zoomed back out the cage, was pulled away. She flinched, watching Lance thrashed and shouted, 3 guards having to come out and drag him away. Pidge trembled, covering her mouth. Oh my God. They're making him into a gladiator, Shiro muttered, gripping back in his seat. Alright everyone, that's the end of that. I hope you enjoy. Again, sorry for the long wait. I hope you enjoy and see you all soon.